ساتوی پسرو وینو دا د شهیدانو کور دا د باتورانو کور دا د باتورانو کور دا د باتورانو کور دا د باتورانو کور ساتوی پسرو وینو دا د شهیدانو کور دا
Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, November 7th, 2024. You are watching RTA News with me, Suleiman Talash. Maulavi Amir Khan Muttaqi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Emirate, met with J.P. Singh, the Special Representative of India for Afghanistan, and emphasized strengthening the relations between the two countries. In this meeting, the Minister of Foreign Affairs stated that India should facilitate the issuance of visa to the people of Afghanistan, especially for businessmen, to develop trade relations. On the other hand, the Special Representative of India called the development of bilateral relations between the two countries important, added that shortly there will be detailed discussions about Chabahar port between the technical delegations of the countries of the region, Afghanistan and India. The Ministry of Interior Affairs called the latest report of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes, which claims that poppy cultivation in Afghanistan has increased compared to 2023, far from the truth and baseless. The officials of this ministry consider the fight against this phenomenon as their priority, adding that the cultivation of poppy is completely banned and the police are fighting against it. More details in report. The Ministry of Interior Affairs described the report of the United Nations Office about drugs and crimes as baseless and unreal, which said that the level of poppy cultivation in Afghanistan has increased this year compared to last year. The ministry adds that since the Islamic Emirate came to rule, the fight against drug cultivation and smuggling has become serious and no one is allowed to plant and work related to it.
The Ministry of Interior Affairs completely rejects the survey and the claim made by the United Nations and considers it far from the truth. Or perhaps the survey was conducted by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime before the police campaign to eradicate poppy fields earlier this year, after which all those poppy fields were eradicated by the police. Therefore, this claim is baseless in nature.
At the same time, analysts call such reports baseless and say that such reports have no other purpose than to put pressure on the Islamic Emirate and achieve their own goals.
There is no real poppy cultivation in Afghanistan, completely banned. Most of the drug dealers are imprisoned by the Mujahideen. Even the Islamic Emirate works honestly and faithfully. They call it lies. The reports of international community are based on the objectives and goals and are full of pressure and political consideration and are far away from facts. In other words, the special representatives that you see are even given money to spread negative news against the current government.
The Interior Ministry says that the anti-narcotics police have reduced the cultivation and smuggling of drugs in Afghanistan to a low level in the last 2 years and have taken decisive steps to combat this phenomenon. Nuruddin Azizi, the Minister of Industry and Commerce, has met with a number of dairy producers in Kandahar city. In this meeting, the officials of the factories of Kandahar city shared their problems and suggestions with the Minister of Industry and Commerce and asked for a solution. The Minister of Industry and Commerce has assured that the ministry is making full efforts for the industrialization of Afghanistan and fully supports tariffs for self-sufficiency in the dairy sector. Mullah Abdul Razak Khun, Deputy Minister of Professional and Technical Affairs of the Ministry of Mothers and Disabled Affairs, met with the advisor of the Qatar Embassy in Kabul in the presence of a number of other officials. Mr. Khun talked about how to provide services to orphans, widows and disabled individuals through this ministry, adding that our country has faced many problems due to the past war. He also added that the Ministry of Mothers and Disabled Affairs provides monthly cash assistance to all registered orphans, widows, and disabled individuals through the banking system from the approved budget. At the same time, the counselor for the Embassy of Qatar in Kabul also promised to share the record statistics and figures of orphans, widows, and disabled people with the Red Crescent Society of Qatar. The Deputy of Youth Affairs of the Ministry of Information and Culture has signed a cooperation agreement worth 131 million Afghanis with the Islamic Relief International Organization in the fields of finding work, opportunities for young people, intellectual reform, and economic empowerment. This agreement was signed between Muhammad Yunus Rashid, the Deputy Minister of Youth Affairs of the Ministry of Information and Culture, and Muhammad Zulqarnain, the Director of the Islamic Relief Organization, which will be implemented in the central, eastern, and northern zones, and about 1,800 young people will benefit. During his visit to Herat province, Mufti Abdul Mateen Saeed, Vice Chancellor of Customs and Revenue at the Ministry of Finance, met with Maulana Nur Ahmad Islamjar, the province's governor. Their discussions focused on preventing the importation of low-quality oil into the country and ensuring that traders have access to the necessary facilities. Additionally, Mr. Saeed urged Herat customs officials to promptly address the problems faced by the people and to provide them with the required support and services. In the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, a 3-story mosque worth 13 million Afghanis was built and put into use. In this opening ceremony, this project Muhammad Arsalah Karote, the financial and administrative deputy of this ministry, welcomed the participants and emphasized that value of religious places, providing people with a place to work, preventing negative publicity against the government, and other necessary things. Sheikh Hamdullah Nomani, Minister of Housing and Urban Development, said that mosques are built only by those who believe in Allah and the doomsday. Mr. Nomani stressed the need to reform hearts, thoughts, and actions, and added that the mosques should be built based on actions. The head of the Afghanistan Bank headed a delegation and attended the annual meeting of IUFP and the Islamic Development Bank held in Bahrain. Nur Ahmad Agha, the head of the Afghanistan Bank, emphasized the importance of establishment institutions to better regulate matters related to alms, endowment, spending, and charity. Let's see more in the report. The head of the Afghanistan Bank in his 2-day meeting of the annual meeting of IUFP and the Islamic Development Bank, which was held in Bahrain a few days ago, stressed the importance of establishing institutions to better regulate matters related to alms, endowment, spending, and charity.
At the beginning of this gathering, the General Director of the Afghanistan Bank, Mr. Nur Ahmad Agha, spoke to the participants about the establishment of institutions for the organization of alms, endowment, and the charities, and for the better organization in this regard. He asked for the establishment of institutions. The General Director of the Afghanistan Bank briefed the participant on the ban on interest rate banking, the development of Islamic banking, and the stability of the banking system in Afghanistan. He asked the representative of the AUAFP Islamic Development Bank and the other related institutions to cooperate with Afghanistan in converting traditional banking to Islamic banking, training programs, and capacity building. The 2-day meeting was held in Bahrain and was attended by nearly 300 representatives of central banks and Islamic commercial banks of Islamic countries. The Ministry of Education says that a new building built for 3,760,000 Afghanis was handed over to a primary school named Sher Khan in the Jalriz district of Maidan Wardak province.
According to the Ministry of Education, this building, which has all necessary facilities, was built at the financial expense of a partner agency of the Ministry of Education. And the final one is that aid was distributed to 200 deserving orphans in Nangarhar. The aid included flour, oil, rice, and some other food and non-food items. The head of the Mothers and Disabled Affairs of Nangarhar Province, Muhammad Sabir Zwak, asked the officials of the Yar Charity Foundation to provide more assistance to orphans, widows, and disabled people in this province to better address their economic problems. The orphans who received the aid thanked the department and officials of the organization for providing aid and emphasized on its continuation. That's all for tonight. Thank you for being with us. Have a good night.
Saatu i pasru vinu da shahidan kur